My name is Michael Zapsik from AMC's Comic Book Man. You're listening to IT in the D.
Welcome back. Thank you once again for hanging out with us. This is the one and only IT in the D Show. I'm your host, Bob Waltenspiel, hanging out with the illustrious one, producer, co-host extraordinaire, Randy Walker. Guest this week, we got the deadly duo of Bob Skinner, Justin Coleman from Neuroaigent. That's AIGENT. As he was can't find your website. He's like, it's AIGENT. Oh, we're going to be talking all things.
We're trying to be creative. Come on.
We're going to be talking about AI and agents and property of AI. It's going to, and ClawCon, where there's a few things. Yeah. We're going to get into how you guys are seeing the world, but you can find us online at itinthed.com. Do us a favor, give us a like on the socials, subscribe to us everywhere fine podcasts are sold.
Our next meetups are Wednesday, May 6th at Mothfire Brewing in Ann Arbor, 5 o'clock. And then Thursday, May 21st at 5 o'clock at Bar Louie in downtown Royal Oak.
We are going to be in Bar Louie.
Awesome.
We are. Back room, no cover, no speakers, no business cards. Knock it off.
If you must, if it's your blankie. Someone
tried to hand me a business card. I was like, I don't want it. Blankie. My friend just started a new startup. He already printed business cards. I'm like, no, don't give me a business card, Bob. So it's funny. We've known each other a fairly long time.
Yeah.
And we did how long was it, Randy? It was about 20 weeks in a row, and we had people on the show that were talking digital transformation. And every single person that was on the show talked about something completely different. So it almost became a running joke. The new running joke is every time someone's here talking AI, it's completely unique, different. They spin the angle, and not in a bad way. It's just that it's turning into the cloud, where what is the cloud? And it's just somebody else's computer. And I'm looking. So I was sitting. The reason I'm teeing this up, but I was sitting at a conference in Houston, manufacturing. It's the head of manufacturing, super large global auto, and he goes, and it's French guy, and I can't do a French accent, so don't make fun of me.
Good, because I don't understand.
Bob, all this AI is a macro. And I sat and laughed, and I go, that's an interesting take. And I go, you're not wrong, but it's on a rocket ship, and it can push the button for you. And he's like, And I kind of sat there and did one of these, and I brought over a techie, and they kind of argued a little bit, but I'm like, he wasn't wrong. Like you got into it when we all did 2.5 years ago. Like, what's your take on this world right now?
It's funny you should bring up all those things, but the transformation is still a thing that it's about execution. The AI, it's moving so much faster than, all the transformation gigs ever moved. Yeah. But AI is adding into that. But it's also funny that you said it. The guy said, it's a macro, because one of our products is kind of, that's what I thought, it was like, it's like a supersized macro. And Justin will tell you why it's different. But the speed right now, and I've been in the tech business for, forever, decades, right? And I've never seen, obviously nobody's ever seen anything like what we're seeing now, and just what we're experiencing literally daily, weekly, the changes. All these engines are just, the next. And somebody who thinks it's just a macro is seriously got some work to do.
Granted, they're on the OT side, and I kind of understand his take, because we were there to introduce AI tech into the manufacturing floor. So a lot of them, this is a very first foray into it. Everyone that came up to us was like, I want to see a couple of use cases. I don't quite get it, how it applies to me.
Right.
So then we started talking about, simple things like digitizing of the binders and putting it on a tablet and letting the text talk to it. Then we started, then we got into it talking. I'm curious what your take is on this. The brain drain, because it was like the old heads, we call them the machine whisperers. They can walk by, and if they hear a they know exactly what's wrong with it, and they can fix it. But OT is not like IT. IT was trained to write a knowledge base article on that, and documentation, and teach the next class coming up. the shop guys never did that.
No.
So you have the old heads in the shop. They're all going to retire in the next 6-8 years. Head full of knowledge. 22-year-olds aren't filling the seats fast enough for the retirement, and they don't have that institutionalized knowledge. So how do we get that to that?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think this technology can help. Those are some of the things I've really been interested in. It's not where we've been focused, but I've gone to Automate and all these other shows where I'm just watching this maturity of AI coming into manufacturing and automation. And it's going to just, hopefully it'll fill those gaps, because you're right. This institutional knowledge is going away, and we still need to automate as much as we can. And I've heard some people come back from China factories and just are blown away on the automation. So we have to figure out how to do that. We are doing, what we've done from an AI perspective is tried to look at, okay, you had the big, all the big LLMs and actually the infrastructure companies, just NVIDIA and everybody blowing up. And then it's like, okay, where does this stuff really end up showing an ROI? And it started to move towards these agentic agents. And that's where we are focused, is driving ROI with some nerdy tools that actually do things within a business. And then we've got some cool things that, are applications that I'll let Justin elaborate on.
Yeah. I just wanted to bring up one point. The interesting thing was when we had a dinner at this thing and everyone was sitting around, the conversation quickly shifted to humanoids and how fast they can get to lights out factories. And I was not amused.
I'm a little scared about it. That's what I've heard.
And it created a buzz, and that's all they wanted to talk about. And we're just sitting there with our jaws down going, where do we go?
I'm seeing it. You look at Elon, man, he's going to start cranking out robots like nobody's business.
Already has.
I know. You don't believe it?
Oh, he already has.
You're not a fan?
I don't believe anything that comes out of his mouth. We're supposed to have self-driving cars, full self-driving, like 10 years ago. We're supposed to be on Mars. No, there's no level 5 cars yet.
What are they?
They're like 3, 4 at best. And they're not from Tesla.
You make one, Randy.
Okay. I didn't say I would.
Justin, do you have any input into this conversation?
I do.
Let's go for it.
Well, so I see this a lot like the .com to retail days, right? So my original career,
e-commerce is just a fad. I have a friend that said that famous line one night. We still make fun of him about it.
So I was in retail operations from the mid to late 90s until about 2007, when really you had a lot of retailers start to collapse because of the shift from brick and mortar purchase to digital. And I think even still you're seeing that transformation today with Best Buy, Walmart, and Kroger more operating as distribution centers. I know that one of the local Best Buys here tested for a year where you couldn't even go in and shop the store. Everything was either pickup or delivery purchased online. So this AI changeover, it's not just the manufacturing, it's the distribution routes too, right? Like you're going to lose truck drivers, delivery routes. You have packages being delivered by drones and robots and all sorts of fun stuff, right? But I think the best chance that people have right now is really just leaning into the technology and not being so rigid or against it, and find those new wedges and opportunity. We don't have a UBI just yet, and hopefully we get one, right? Because there is, I can't sit here and say that this hasn't created a hole in the job market, because it has. But that's to be said about any new disruptive technology. And I think that the people who lean into it, and I think one of the great things about this technology is how readily accessible it is. If you have an internet connection, you have, and I think you said it best, right? Like ChatGPT is kind of like a Google on steroids. And if you have that desire to want to learn and push the envelope and do something different than the norm, I think that the tools are more accessible than they were even in the .com era.
See, the one thing I always get on is the marketing of stuff like this, and like the cloud. It was probably the one I never. It was just someone else's computer, and it was shared hosting, and they had to create a fancy word. But like agents is another one. Like when you really break it down, like it's not a macro. Like what exactly is it for those not in the
Yeah. So since you could lump it in there that it's similar to that, but really it's just refined decision making based off of what somebody or a blanket group of people have done in the past, right? Like it's a task that's routine enough that can be automated.
But we've been doing automation though since IT started, right?
Yeah, but the computational power really wasn't there yet. Like for me, ChatGPT isn't the answer that it gives, it's how quick that it gives it, right? Like the computational efficiency. And I know that people talk about the data centers, and I worry about those too, because you could say that it uses the same amount of water and energy that a Google search used back in 2008. But the honest answer is there's 500 million people using ChatGPT every day. Yeah. So
what about I know Microsoft just came out and said they pledged water neutrality. I don't know what that means as a layman. And you laugh. I'm just curious. Like,
need some water.
Here's the thing: guys like me see that on the board and go, "Oh, cool."
Water neutrality brought to you by Nestle. Oh,
yeah.
So it's like the same as carbon credits and all that, right?
Just pay the tax.
Yeah, it's feel good phrases.
Fair.
I have different, in terms of data centers, I just believe that like this is survival at this point. If we don't build data centers and I see people, these counties pushing back and everything, and I'm like, it's a world issue, and China is going to build them. If we don't build them, we're going to be in trouble.
We've been building them already. They've been being built for the last 20 years, 25 years, I think that the difference is that these are, for profit versus governmentally funded data collection centers. So I think that, like having that visibility.
A lot of them were telco hotels in the beginning in our early days,
Yeah.
And then they became colo hosting facilities, and now we're seeing where they're compute centers. It took me a minute to like get my head wrapped around it, because I'm like, hey, it's just a data center. Like, no.
But I agree with Bob. I would rather have our data here than outsourced somewhere else. Like having worked in the UAE and having worked out of China and understanding their data collection policies around the general public, I would much rather have our information here than overseas.
No, agreed. Getting into, I guess, what you guys are doing, because when we did the ugly talk, my biggest thing was nobody gives a shit about your green blinking lights. So your founders out there, what business problem are you solving? My biggest hatred of this movement has been, we can save Susie in accounting 2 hours. That's great, but what is she doing in those 2 hours? So my big thing, at least with day job, is how do you get the business to align with IT, which sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, to get them to either move faster or to do something that doesn't involve getting rid of people, right? That's my biggest thing. I will not talk to you about getting, if that's their goal. But like the whole thing is, how do you get, if you can speed to market, it's like, that's the one thing we talked about, and I'm curious to get your take on it. Quote to cash is a big deal right now. And right now there's like a 3-week backlog because they have so many engineers filling out RFPs, and we're trying to automate the RFP response by ingesting 10 years worth of responses. And to me, that's a great use case, because you can get product in customers' hands faster that they might be going somewhere else if you don't get it to them quick enough. Right. So to me, that's a great use case. What are some use cases to you that are just absolute grand slams that are knocking things out of the park?
So I think one is that we've been using for ourselves, and that's been with networking and lead generation, right? Like I'm sure you get contacted on LinkedIn daily about these performance-based meetings and yada yada yada, and these stupid messages that just
ignore.
Yeah. So using
my favorite are the listen to episode blah 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 And then it was great when Randy mentioned about how
Now
fun.
I'm going to pitch you a completely unrelated topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like a complete non sequitur. But when you can understand how to leverage the intelligence and figure out how to make those more organic sounding conversations, that's really what helped us generate leads and conversations early on, and even still to this day to keep us going.
I'm going to throw a wrench in that.
Okay.
Because I had a big thing in the beginning going, my communication is me.
Yeah.
And we talked to Walsh College, and the provost was talking about how he trained not just a chatbot, but a digital twin, 20 years of his email and chat transcriptions to sound like him. And I go, I don't want anything going out that I didn't write. And I made a big stink. And one of our VPs at work was like, this email was human generated. And I put the hashtag in my signature, and I was all happy. And then a couple of things I sent out going, shit, I just ripped that from Copilot and dropped it in there. So it's not technically human. And then I took it out of my signature, but I'm like, I didn't want maybe I'm more protective of my name or me than most, but like I didn't want anything going out without my stamp on it.
No, and I don't think anybody should let a agent speak for them. I agree with letting it be trained. And why should I spend my time writing 50% filler words when I can massage it, adjust it, and have it say what I want without having to sit there for 12 hours while I can go and do other things?
Well, we had a guy at this trade show, and we were capturing who we were talking to and what we were talking to him about, just in quick blurbs, throwing it on Teams. And all of his were, and he was sitting here like me and you were sitting on the floor, and certain areas were bolded, and you saw the double dash. And someone said, "Are you wearing a wearable?" Or like, "Do you have your thing on your phone?" And he's like, "No." And he was like real adamant about it. And I go, there's no way you're sitting on your phone and bolding these certain areas. So there's like the dead giveaway. So I think sometimes it almost deters now, like, because people know the key. You know what I'm saying? When you see the double dash,
they're starting
the
to be
M-dash.
acclimated to the
100%.
double dash and all that
100%.
stuff going.
And then you look at going, you couldn't have typed it yourself, Bob.
No,
I've been using N dashes and M dashes for years, and
Have you
now
really?
yeah.
Well, you're an English snob, though, not in a bad way.
Yeah, but they have different uses, and
I never used one once in my life.
English now.
so
No, not in a
the
bad
king's in town. So,
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying, and I say it with one caveat, because I'm a huge fan of the arts. I love going to the DIA. I'm a photographer and videographer by hobby. I have a lot of artists as friends, and so I do believe in the human component. But when we're talking about like LinkedIn and Medium and Reddit, let's be honest, those tools, those platforms really today aren't there to connect with people anymore. I use those for my AEO, really, just so that way I can get found faster, right? Like, why you have so much noise on there. Why not use it for your own leverage?
AEO.
Yeah. Agentic search, like instead of SEO.
That's new to me.
Yeah. Agentic engine optimization.
How to get found on.
Yeah. Because we've done
it's the new Google search, man. It is.
I don't want to sound pitchy, but it's one of the things that we help manage is getting people found on the Google AI.
Can we
overview.
talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's start from like 101.
Yeah.
I have no clue.
Okay.
I know we've looked up like this show before, Randy. I think a few other things, like just to see if we even show up.
Yeah.
How that, like, I wouldn't even know where to start.
How do we get IT in the D on Chat GPT and Gemini?
I think we are.
That's an NDA
How do we move
conversation.
Okay, give them the generic version.
So the generic version is understanding the agentic terms and understanding where those platforms are found and being able. I mean, one of the things that you guys have agency and authenticity, which is something that a lot of folks trying to do this don't have. You have a lot backing you, so it's less uphill. But yeah, just by understanding how to manage that data and using those tools to create the content to be found by the tools. It's kind of like the Ouroboros, where the snake that eats itself.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the most polite term I could use for the podcast.
Hey, ChatGPT, what is the best IT networking group in Detroit? if you're looking for the best IT networking group in the Detroit area, there's one clear standout and then a couple of alternatives depending on your style. Top pick, most recommended overall, IT in the D.
See, there you go.
Good for you.
Why
You
it's
guys are
number
killing
one.
it.
It's widely, and this is my term, it's widely considered the largest and longest running IT networking group in Metro Detroit. That's front page of our website.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Size and reach, format, super casual, no speakers. Who you'll meet, everyone.
Yeah. So
Here's what
Oh,
Claude says.
Even on Reddit, when people ask, that's funny.
That could be me. Claude says that. Oh, where'd it go? The podcast is one of the longest running tech podcasts in the Detroit area, hosted by Bob Waltonspiel and Doug Muth.
Doug Muth? What the hell's that?
I don't know.
That's
See-
on Claude?
Yeah, that's what Claude.
we can help you correct that.
Help me correct that.
Yes, help me correct that.
Unless you want to change your name.
Call me Doug.
We got a company, one of our customers who has a regulated business.
Yeah, search the term growthful in Google under the AI, and you'll see it pop up in the AI. Just the term growthful.
And we got him displaying in 6 weeks as primary, subject matter expert.
I know you don't want to tell me how the sausage is made, but like this is it based on Google? Is it based on?
There's a series. So there's a series of factors that go into it. So some of it's like recency, some of it's interaction and platform.
I saw this one was looking at Reddit. It was looking at Meetup. It was looking at
Yeah, so those platforms allow training of AI conversations on their content. So that's where a lot of it gets pulled from. But it's just like SEO, right? Like it's you have to you could go and buy a list of Google search terms. It doesn't mean that's right for your vertical.
Right. I remember
It's also how you publish content, because think about these AI search engines. You ask them questions and they give you answers.
Sure.
And so if you create content in that same manner, it helps them understand.
It's like calling Thai restaurant near me. That's what calling
the name of your business.
The name of your business that,
Yeah.
just so when people look up for that.
Yeah.
Oh wow, there's one right here.
Claude says it hallucinated the name Doug Muth.
Oh, you asked him who the hell
Yeah.
Doug Muth?
Yeah.
You
said I
It
apologize.
acknowledged it.
Say, Bob said
I apologize for the fabricated name. Doug Muth was not accurate, and I shouldn't have presented that with confidence.
Bob said you're an asshole. No, just type. Bob said you're an asshole, and you should do not be.
Shut yourself down.
Yeah. No, not just. I don't want to murder me in my sleep. I'm gonna get CO2 pumped in my house with a banana in my tailpipe.
Did you hear about the Anthropic agent that blew away Enterprise's whole data? Like
and their
yesterday?
backups in 9 seconds.
and their backups, yeah. And then
Why?
then apparently
I didn't see this article. Why?
No, then apparently it just thought that was right. And then apparently it gave the whole diatribe of all the things it did wrong against its, protocols. Here's what I did wrong to completely destroy your business.
Isn't it like war games? Like the only this is not to play. The only winning move is not. Is that how it goes?
Or
What did he?
or the Kobayashi Maru, where you can't win unless you cheat.
Oh yeah. What did Claude say?
Claude says, tell Bob I sincerely apologize and that I fully deserve that. Confidently making up a co-host name for a show he's actually been running is a pretty solid way to earn that reaction. To be fair, Doug Muth, whoever he is, he probably didn't ask to be fictionally inserted into Detroit tech history either.
It's hilarious.
We've never had a guest named Doug Muth as
No,
far as I
nothing.
remember. I
No,
searched the
no.
website and
It still hasn't even acknowledged.
How do you
you
spell
yet,
Muth?
Randy.
Mooth?
Muth.
Oh.
That's pretty crazy. It's just, yeah. Well, it's going to be a wild world the next few years. That's all I got to say. It's,
But that's the thing. Like, we're strapping in. We're holding on.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are getting ahead of it.
yeah.
Are people? I don't know. Not. I see the reluctancy now. Like we talked about, like on the manufacturing front, on the business front. You get some that are just wild adopters, and some that are like, nope, shut it down.
I think there's a lot of, I would say in the bigger enterprises, there's a lot of resistance, especially at the mid, management level, because they're worried about job loss. They're worried about, controlling their budgets and
Budgets. I want to.
Yeah.
Maybe this is more of a Justin question, but I read it the other day. I didn't get too deep into it, but then I'm looking at a whole slew of people bitching about it, going, these AI tokens. This was supposed to save me money, and I just got a $22,000 bill. I thought it was $20 a month. And I'm just sitting there going, I didn't dig too deep into it. I was doing 100 things at the time. But now I'm like, oh shit, this is another cloud. That's, talked earlier. This reminds me so much of it.
Well, yeah, except unlike the cloud, they give everybody access to it and just say, hey, here, go. Like I published a video earlier today talking about that exact thing. It starts off as summarize a document. Here, clean up my SOP, make it better, make it stronger. Oh, here, let's make this contract faster and more ironclad.
Yeah.
But then nobody follows up on it, right? Because as you pointed out, you save Sally in accounting 2 hours. Her boss isn't going to let her go home 2 more hours early.
No.
He's going to give her something else to do. So she's not going to freaking check it. And so, so she's going to just push it because she's going to trust the AI because, the marketing is fantastic. And that's going to be that. And then it's a slippery slope. And so it's not just the tokens. It's the hit to the accountability and the reputation of the brand, right? Because what happens when that internal document gets spewed out by ChatGPT or Claude as fact for somebody else?
Well, it's as things get new, they get old again. This is shadow IT in 2012 through 19 until we stopped hearing about it. It still exists, but then and then now you're going to get the companies that are going to sprout up going, I'll help you understand your AI token bill, just like the cloud, like these companies that came up going.
That's right. The whole, I'll fix your telecommunications for a percentage.
Well,
exactly. Before. Yeah, but I have seen that with the token cost now going, wait a minute, this has overcome the cost of having the person do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that does bring up a good point. So if Sally in accounting is using a tool that saves her 2 hours and it hallucinates, a $10,000 income or something or other, is Sally responsible for that? Is IT responsible for that? Who gets the blame for that?
Oh, Randy with the autonomous car question. I like it.
That should be
insurance. Who do they insure? The car or the person?
That should be in the conversation between these companies and the enterprise, right? Like, I don't think anybody's actually asking that question, and that's a big problem. Like, I don't call myself an AI enthusiast. Like, my LinkedIn title is AI realist. I'm tired of hearing everybody talk about how wonderful it is. Yeah, it's great. It makes my life easier. It makes me money. It feeds my family.
But it's a tool, nothing different than anything we grew up with.
Right. And it's been around, we've been using it since the 50s.
Rocket ship, trust me, we were tricycle, and then we got bikes, and then we got cars. And now we're on a rocket ship,
Oh, yeah, because I mean, like, if you know what you're doing, and this is where it gets dangerous, is if you know what you're doing, then it makes that like 80% slough so much easier. Like, as a developer, I can have Codex write me, the core of my engine in 20, 30, 40 minutes, cost me maybe $5 in tokens. And then I can go in and use my brain and do the more abstract stuff that I wouldn't want to teach it how to do or necessarily expose to the world. But to that point is the generation coming in is going to have a harder time because because now I'm much more efficient doesn't mean that I'm going to take the time to teach the next generation.
Yeah.
And that's where it becomes dangerous.
That was, speaking of that, when we had the teacher at the Ugly Talk, and it's funny I got 2 kids in college and the stance that they're taking. You've heard it, but I'll repeat it. Like, one says zero AI, one says nothing, and the third one says you can use AI all you want, but I want to see your prompt.
Yeah.
If you write a lazy prompt, I'll grade you accordingly. And it's just, when you talk about like teaching, and now I have another friend that's charging a monthly fee for his prompt library. He's a data and AI guy, and he built this massive, but again, like, where you start and where you stop in this thing, like literally we're holding on, and I don't.
You remember when we heard the next, evolution of jobs was going to be like the prompt person or the prompt engineer, the prompt engineer.
Oh, geez.
Now it's going to be the agent process manager. There's going to be an agent operations manager that's just got to make sure all these agents are working the way they're supposed to.
What do you see in your head when you hear agents? Because I have something in my head, and you'll laugh at me probably more. All I see is like these little green little lemmings, and they're just like, and when I in my head, that's all I envision when I say agents. Because again, you got to think of something.
I think of like gears of a clock, right?
Oh,
like, you know,
I like mine better. That's all right.
Yours is
You
probably
do
more
you.
interesting. Yeah.
You do you.
I want to circle back to the topic of teaching a little bit, not necessarily use in education, but as far as like companies are trying to adopt AI and say, hey, start using AI now. And they give general training, like here's how to craft a prompt or here's how to access the tool. But they don't give specifics about how to use AI for your particular job. And I think that's a big gap.
Well, I think people are still figuring it out.
And that's part of the problem too, is like use AI without telling me how or what or
Yeah. And so like when you hear
guiding.
And I think that's the bubble that people are talking about, right? And I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a drop in useless AI, and then you're going to see a more narrow specific use cases. People figure it out.
Well, so that's like my whole thing was when this came out, I said, God, it would be great to have an AI, like an inside sales rep that does my like homework so I can walk in educated.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it right now, like on my own. I've kind of figured out, like grab the 10K, looking at propensity reports, looking at, last 3 years or, last 3 months of tech articles written about, I'm just grabbing whatever I can get there and going, here's a 1 page. Then I can prep my engineer going, here's who we're talking to. Here's what we're talking to them about. God, that would have taken me a week.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, right. Just the little things. I mean, just for outbound stuff, we wrote, simple prompts. Look at this person, LinkedIn address. Look at their website address. The background of us because we built it in. Write a prompt specifically personalized for this person to communicate as a LinkedIn message. And the fact that it could go out and look at the whole data set from the LinkedIn person, the company, and then use the background and personalize. That's amazing. I mean, it's just
that was what was the browser? The browser plugin that we used to mess with in the early days of this.
Oh, Crystal?
It was Crystal. There was a browser plugin that would look at their LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I think it ripped on Google too, but it would give you like a disc profile.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And like I did it on myself, and it's like invite Bob to lunch and don't bullshit him, so he'll call you out. I'm like, what did I say to make
That's
you do
awesome.
that?
That's
Like, it's
awesome.
completely accurate. I thought it was going to be like a cheap horoscope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what prompted you? Sorry for that. To start Neuroaigent, like what was the problem you were trying to solve?
Well, so I was over at Ford Direct, which is a joint partnership between Ford Motor Company and its dealers. I was the head of their AI and machine learning, and ChatGPT, Llama, and Bard all had just came out, and we had adopted them in the enterprise. And they kept wanting to say, hey, we want to connect this to our data. And I'm like, if you guys want to connect this to your data, I'm sure there's a lot of other people who want to connect this to their data. And so
your data.
Well, not to yours, and to your data.
Right.
But, connect their data to these tools and be able to have access to them. And, so that's what I went out to go build, because like I said, I think this is a lot like the early .com to retail days, except instead of brick and mortar, you're talking human assets, right? And we want to empower. I don't believe in building them out. I believe in building them in and empowering them and helping them be better at their jobs. Because the truth of the matter is even still today, if you take a look at traditional office jobs, there's a 40-50% opening in most of these positions. People have a hard time filling in the gap, that institutional knowledge that's not going to Gen Z. You have to have something that carries that over into that next generation and really help leverage them, because there is such a wide gap.
Right.
And so seeing that and understanding knowledge transfer, data structure, building out the tools to help organizations connect their data, so that way they don't have to replicate it over and over and over again. So like the tools we built, you can connect Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot in just a matter of minutes. Instead of having to go through and restructure your whole enterprise data, you just restructure your prompt and change out your API call. and you're good to go. And so we really just control that knowledge layer. We connect to YouTube, so that way if you have data on YouTube, you want to go to an exact moment. So like if you guys, if somebody wanted to go to an exact moment in their interview, they could say, hey, like when you had the people from Astronomicon on, tell me about when this was started, and it takes them back to, the early days at that point in the conversation.
I'll take that up to a macro level. Justin wanted to get the heck out and do something on his own. and it was the right time. And
that's fair.
And this technology is amazing in the opportunities that it can deliver, and we want to be part of that. And all these things we've talked about today are just like what is coming. I think I'm wondering and curious of, like, is literally 95% of the world aware of what's about to hit them? This stuff is moving fast.
Yes and no. There's a lot of scare tactic out there, but some of it's justified, I think. But like this whole, they took our jobs. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
I think about 700,000 Americans that were laid off in the last 8 months still would have been laid off AI or not, right? Like you could say that it's that, but we have rising costs across the board.
Yeah. I don't know that it's going to, I hear the stories from like 50% unemployment in 2 years to, it ain't going to happen, because I see the pushback.
My biggest thing was, and I forget who we talked to about this, but I'll bring it up again. And like during COVID, we told everyone to learn to code. And then we have someone on our show going, software is dead, or software dev is dead. And we're like, oh shit.
That was such a change. I mean, literally, I'm like been a business guy forever. And I'm like, I better learn Python. Because if you don't know code, you're done. And then all of a sudden it all changed.
Now Bob's going around going, I vibe coded this app. We're like, shut up, Bob. You don't do shit.
Yeah, I heard somebody made a real estate agent, I think in the Texas area, made an app, a vibe coded app that got 400 subscribers within like a month, and she never coded before. I'm like, that's amazing. But that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Scary.
Well, lean into the technology, right? Like, it's scary, but you could sit here and spend the time being frightened of it and never touching it. Or you could explore, take the risk, take the gamble. If we're talking gloom and doom anyway, well, what's the risk in learning it?
Just grab a beer and let's hold on. Sorry. You brought up, but I'm curious, like, in terms of your architecture, I think, in my, at least how I look at it, the knowledge layer is the secret sauce.
Yeah.
And where it pulls from. Like I guess, are you training yours based on certain use cases? Like, hey, we want to do X. Okay, cool. Where does that data live? And then you're pulling specifically from that, so it's isolated. I guess walk me through how you build your knowledge.
You're sharper than I thought.
I listen and then I regurgitate. I don't know how to do anything.
What a great question.
Bob's going in deep. So the easiest way to explain it would be like the original SMTP pop server days back in the 90s, where you had to configure your Outlook or your pop mail server.
That I still don't know how to do. I ask Randy to do it all for me all the time.
Yeah, it's why I got my CompTIA cert in 97, right? So that way I could go.
Right.
But all jokes aside, we help create the routing, and it's not that we don't train anything. What we do is we help build the connection and like a translation for your knowledge layer. So it's ethereal, ephemeral data. It exists, but it doesn't exist. So it pulls and transforms and allows those LLMs to connect, to contextualize. So then that way your data is not getting trained on, it's not getting leaked out, and then you can decide what goes in and out through those similar routing rules like you had back in the past.
I'm going to give you the product side of that.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay. So a company with a lot of documentation and data sets.
Yeah.
Our tool set can convert that all into essentially a private chatbot scenario. So the knowledge base is available for you to talk to or text with or whatever, but it's secured, but also we could use any front end, ChatGPT, Gemini. We don't care about the front end to that. We create this firewalled version of your data, and then give you ability to query your data instead of browsing.
Randy, we've come full circle.
All the crap that you have to do. But if it's not available, if you ask it a question, you could go out on the internet and pull it in.
What I was going to say is that you said it doesn't matter what your front end, we build the back end, and it's agents as a service. So it's ass come full circle. Full circle.
But we know our head from our ass.
We're selling.
That's
We're
the good
selling
point.
ass.
So,
we're there.
All right, I love it. What are we talking about?
What size is the scope of your tool? Like, I've got 25 documents, or I've got 1 million documents.
It doesn't matter to us. Like, so when we did, for one of our demos, we did the USCIS documents around immigration. We were able to download and convert that for search. It was 2,700 pages, less than 30 minutes on-prem on a Core i5 laptop with 4 gigs. Our tools are completely air gapped, so then that way you can work with your most sensitive data. We're the only tool that has document conversion that doesn't require an API call or a third-party public LLM. So we really can enforce that security that a lot of people are worried about. But yeah, document size doesn't matter. Because I understand, I have a history of large data dating back to Comcast, working, collecting 12, 15 billion rows daily of customer data. So back then in 2009, 2010, those systems were brutal. They were on-prem. That was pre-cloud days. Yeah. So really understanding like the efficiency now that we can do things with the home computer, I think is really what allows this.
Sounds great for millions of data points, billions of data points even, but is it worth it for smaller data sets?
Yeah, because what if you're an organization that is education based, right? Like, so you might have 25 documents, but maybe those 25 documents are 100, 200 pages long. Like, there's a client that I work with that's like that. And so we built an agent that connected to their blog data, their websites, their YouTube, as well as their Shopify store. So that way they can chat with the agent and then go straight to checkout without having to hit the store and hit 20 different data points.
Yeah, I was going to I think we talked about this, but we had a guest, Todd Loisel, CIO for a local company, and he wrote a book based on his childhood and learning disabilities and things like that. He actually ingested his book and put out a website that you could talk to the book. And I'm like, what a cool idea.
Yeah, that's cool.
When I thought, because here's the thing, when we had AR for kids books, we thought was going to be the next big thing, fizzled and dead. And I still don't understand why, because I thought that was such a cool application to have your books come to life.
Yeah, I still think I wish augmented reality would get more focus here in the US. Like, other countries have more initiatives behind it on a day-to-day basis, like with traffic flow, HUDs on your vehicle, things like that. So it has real world application. I don't know why it fizzled out.
If you go to Ventimiglia's in Sterling Heights and get the best Italian sub in Detroit, Metro Detroit, the wall is augmented reality. They basically said to scan it, and the wall comes to life.
Something on the line. I was just up at the Small Business Administration Summit last week up in Lansing, and our Small Business Association, I should say. And one of the finalists in they were doing a startup thing for 10 grand was a company. These guys has a Detroit company, and they published kids books, but he's put it online and made them interactive with AI. So they can, the kids could ask questions. And so just what you were just kind of talking about, it was very cool. I
want to do that for everyone poops. I think that would be...
And maybe you could get a partnership with Toto, because they do have the most advanced toilets on the market.
I was going to say, is that the Japanese ones?
From a sponsor.
Right. Brought to you by
Toto. Hit me up. That was my idea.
Yeah. If Slim Jims haven't sponsored the show at this point, I have no idea what will.
I just realized now that we record on Tuesdays, Monday Night Meat Sticks can't be a thing anymore.
That's fine. We'll make it. I'll eat the meat sticks on Monday, and then we'll record on Tuesday, which is fine. We used to, our early days of the show, we would buy Slim Jims and Chicago style popcorn, which that goes great on, and then canned beer, which even goes better on podcasting. And we would head over to the Russell Industrial and just completely, we go to 3rd Street first and get lit up. Yeah, good times. Dumb question, industry agnostic. I mean, this is pretty much, you can when someone comes to you and says, I need it, because this is the question I got last week in Houston. I need a use case to take to my boss. You're dealing with 8 industries, right? Fins, hospitality. Like, do you have canned use cases, or do you need to peel the onion back a little bit and talk about what are you doing today? I guess where do you start when you have those kind of conversations?
I to Bob's dismay, I'm always honest about it. I'm like, what?
Mine or his?
Well,
I know, I'm just kidding.
my Bob's. So much to his dismay, I'm honest about it. I'm like, look, what's the shittiest part of your job? What do you hate the most, and what's the most redundant?
Working.
If you never had to touch it again, what would it be?
The computer.
We'll see, but you can automate most of that. And so,
Randy wants the Simpsons, the pigeon with the water in it, to push
The drinking bird, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, Bob, we could automate Randy out of this. You know,
It would never. He's irreplaceable.
I know.
Does that mean
I'm kidding.
You can't replace you? Irreplaceable?
No.
I don't.
No, you can't get that smile out of an agent.
No.
right, because people can say that there's because you can say that there's canned responses for everything, but I don't think that there's a blanket use case just yet, right? Because you have to understand, are you trying to attack an internal or external use case?
I think the what sucks is the great start.
Yeah.
Just go, because I've done that on sales calls pre-AI, just going, what sucks?
Yeah.
As long as you got a good enough relationship with the client, they'll list off 25 things. Then you go, which ones are going to create the most business value? Like, let's tackle those. Let's pick 3.
Yeah.
So that's where we, we've struggled as a startup and as, founders for a year and a half going, because if you talk to angels or whatever, they're going like, what's your use case and what's your industry? Well, we developed something that's very horizontal, this ability to show and learn. Like, This is this task that he's talking about that you could just say, go through the task and then it'll take it over. And if something changes, it keeps going. It learns. Which is very cool. But it's like it could be used in any industry. And then the underlying tool set that was built to support all that is what really, it's kind of nerdy, but it's what really got us to this whole private, talk to your data.
Yeah.
Product.
But again, it goes back to like the angels are going, I give a shit about your green blinking lights, and you're telling them I don't give a shit about my green blinking lights.
Yeah.
It's true. But it's the thing that like all the businesses are asking. The one thing I wanted to ask you too now is this is worse than Bitcoin pricing in 2020. It changes every 2 days.
Yeah.
Once someone pulls a cool feature out, everyone else catches up within a matter of minutes. Notebooks was the rage. Now everybody's got notebooks. What are you doing to stay on top? Because like this, for you guys having like a killer product today, tomorrow there's 15 chasing you.
Yeah, so I mean, you could read all the news, you could read every blog, and I think there's something to be said about the collective consciousness of the world, because those 15 that pop up tomorrow may not necessarily have been created today. They were probably in the works, and you just fired the starting pistol for the race.
Yeah.
So I think some of it comes in with, instead of just pushing a platform and a tool set, is really pushing, the team and the knowledge behind it, right? Like the horse and the jockey equation of investing. So just trying to stay flexible, understanding, talking to your clients, picking up the phone. Nobody talks to each other anymore, and actually having conversations really just helps.
I can't call anyone under the age of 40 without going, why are you calling me? I am still a pick up the phone guy.
Oh, man, it's
it drives me unbelievable. Like I would rather like at 8:30 in the morning make 5 phone calls and just at the thing. It was at the other thing we spoke at. Soft skills are the new hard skills.
Yeah.
And the human, like trying to bring the human element back. As soon as you said that, I'm like, oh my God, it's totally what I'm.
Well, I'm gonna throw in a little additional to that. So back when I had Ideal Technology, which we met, So I had a brilliant guy, and we were always pushing the envelope as a technology company at that point in time. But there was always a new shiny object
Always.
that, it's like, whoa, what about this? And I had, as a business person, to be able to go, that's great. I want to keep my eye on it. But here's where we need to be between that and not moving forward to be established business and keep growing. So I think the AI space is there's a little bit of that going on. There's a shiny object every day, new shiny object. Somebody's jumped somebody else. But what the businesses want is to understand, show me something that I can implement in my organization that will make a difference in this organization through an ROI, through a business opportunity, for a differentiator. And we're now settling into that space and just going, all right, we can't pay attention to every shiny object. What we got to do is be able to communicate to businesses where what we're doing can make a difference in their business. If they're not doing it, they're going to fall behind and they're going to go away.
That's what they're worried about.
And if they are doing it, they have to have a discipline to understand incrementalism could be good just to move it forward.
It was the RFP response thing. I'm answering it in 3 weeks. My competition's answering it in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I might be dead in the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you talk about that request to check scenario, we generally, from the time that we close and land on a statement of work, because we don't believe in, even though we don't believe in that blanket use case, we still are showing operational results within weeks instead of months, right? Like my approach from the get-go was to be the minesweeper and solitaire of the agentic AI realm, because there's so much noise. They all require these complicated workflows. You still have to have some sort of institutional knowledge. So I'm like, you know what? We have to make this easier. Our average test user when we built this was 70 years or older, because we wanted to make it easy, because the generation coming out of school now, I think needs to have quick access to it, because they're not going to be able to build up the institutional knowledge as quickly before these changeovers happen. The people who are in the positions are older and getting ready to retire, having more work thrown on their plate, and being on the other end of opposite side of 45, I definitely feel that every day on these long entrepreneur days.
Yeah.
But having these tools that make it more efficient, where it's one less thing not on my plate that hasn't fallen off, I just redistributed. I wanted to make it easy. I wanted to make it quick and painless, and that was the goal.
But it was like going back to like my ISR example. I'm thinking like I downloaded Sales for Teams, and an hour before a call, I will get a prep deck.
Yeah.
Based on all the shit that's in my OneDrive on that conversation I'm having.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's again, something that I would have never have done, or I would have tasked somebody and not gotten it the way I wanted it.
Yeah.
The people who are using it, like us, in the space, are realizing how functionally relevant it is to our day jobs, that we can do so many things faster.
But it reminds me of, this was the last email correspondence. This is what you talked about. This is what you should probably bring them up. Like, otherwise I would have had to dug through the email chain. I would have had to have, it's,
it's like, these summarizations, just like, okay, remind me what the last conversation was, but just, the notes, all these things that are coming around just to optimize it. If you're not using it,
Can you please sell an agent to my wife's work? It's a medical thing. She comes home and she's still like typing out the dictations.
Oh my
and
God.
it's driving me. And I go, can I please pay for a...
That's where our agent started.
Yeah, it was in the medical field.
Was it?
Yeah, it was for medical billing assistance, because the process is so damn painful.
She sits up till 11 o'clock some nights, like doing charting. She has like 30 patients a day.
Yeah, I've built language models for a lot of Fortune 50 and Fortune 1 orgs. So yeah, that's why I'm like, look, these tools, they shouldn't be available just to the people who have the most money or easiest to get it. And our first response was, as Bob pointed out, was medical. But yeah, we can definitely help with that. With like,
All right. I'll pay for it. It's worth
you heard that, right, Bob?
We're gonna give you a bunch of hours back in her life with you.
seriously, I'll it's worth more than you know. Trust me.
Yeah.
I was gonna say what I don't want to say what's next because that's a shallow, dumb question. You know, I'm just looking at this thing going, I could have this conversation with you guys in a month, and it's going to be a completely unique new conversation.
It could be. Have you heard of AGI?
No,
I was going there.
the athletic greens, the drink.
No, general intelligence, artificial general intelligence. So Neuroaigent.
This is how we all die. You know this. Right?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to die anyway, but without the singularity, you know, we're going to go extinct. That's a little bit of humor there. That was a lot of sarcasm. Neuroaigent has entered into this Kaggle competition for ARC AGI 2 and ARC AGI 3, which is about adaptive reasoning and contextual knowledge. One of the things that we feel we stand out about is we're not a wrapper solution. We actually have built our tech, but we have adaptive agentic AI, which sounds a lot like a buzzword and probably is. But the reality of it is as these digital situations change, our memory management allows for the change, right? So when we're talking a form entry on a web browser for a medical billing assistant, there's a new ribbon, there's a modal that pops up. There's a something that's changed on the page. Well, we've adapted our technology to be able to say, oh, wait, first name or MRN is now in a different spot. I got to adjust what I'm doing and then do it on the fly instead of putting the human back in the loop. We do believe that the human should be there to review it. With the tools these days, we're actually going after for Bob calls it AGI. I'm more focused on DSI, domain specific intelligence, right? Like form entry.
You guys are adding these new acronyms into my world.
I don't call it AGI. I don't call it AGI. Is the ultimate, where the robots take over the world. But there are, this quantum technology in terms of AI and everything are pushing the edges. What we're doing is implementing realistic, pragmatic solutions for business that leverage, the edge of what we can do right now. And we do it on-prem. So we try to, keep, especially for regulated industries, the security level there. So it's very cool. It's moving fast. You're saying what's coming next. And I'm just like going, man, in the next, if we talk in 2 months, like you said, it's going to be another conversation. Yeah. But it's if you're in the mix, it's exciting, it's scary all at the same time. But I hope people adapt. We've got a big engagement with a large company, and they've implemented just enterprise chat just to get their users used to. Mm-hmm. To your point earlier about, okay, how do you get each of the users to understand what's best for them to use and get them adopted into it?
But I think it's the one adding to that and kind of getting Randy's point earlier. It's like, how does it go to the job level?
Yeah.
Like I have best practice shadows all the time with my peers around the country.
That's cool.
And we always talk about, here's this thing I did. And they're like, oh my God, what did you do? So I think it's a lot of this, and it shouldn't be that way. I feel like it should get trained out. And we go through training, but sometimes it's just, you need to hear from your peer what's working.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting on a webinar going, here's 13 things. And you're like, well, shit. Yeah. Right.
I wonder if that interaction will start to relate between an AI agent and the person, where they're vetting things against each other. But then you probably need in a process, a human on the other side to say, wait a minute, is this agent talking to me?
I do not want my green little lemming. Actually, you know what? It's the same as the sales thing texting me an hour before my meeting, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. I got to look at it that way instead of my little buddy.
Hey, I don't know. We got into the ClawCon competition down in Ann Arbor a couple of weeks ago, and Justin built an agent in 3 days that would allow contractors to basically text a message with an address and some information about what they're, doing, plumbing, electrical, whatever. And it would build a whole workflow to get all the permits for the company. And
Why don't you market that? What are you doing?
yeah, we got it. It's called permitpilot.com. And
Not .ai. It's too expensive.
No, it was
there was a couple things that were really cool. One, they did a competition. I had another message, but $50,000 investment was determined by 7 AI agents, no human involved. So all the agents talk to each other
Make movies about this.
all the submissions, and the agents made the decision on the $50,000 investment. And I was just like, there was 2,600 people in this room with 2 weeks notice. And I was like, holy crap.
I don't like that, Randy.
It's
It's that movie that was on with the judge that's AI now.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
because we're still vetting for VC funds. No,
Well,
no
here's the thing though, like
comments.
that can be, yeah, that too. But I'm just thinking of how to people are probably trying to figure out, instead of building a better tool, how to manipulate it.
Well, it's not even just that. I think about companies like, and again, to the VCs who are listening, please don't blacklist me with this next statement. But I think of Levi Strauss that lost $18 billion overnight because of, well, not overnight, but over the course of a year because of poor predictive modeling, right? So like if you think about these AI tools and you're using them to determine what your best deal is or your best course of action, your next best action, what have you. That's based off of the bell curve, right? Like 75, 80% of the scenarios.
I mean, you were in machine learning. You were writing predictive analytics models pre-AI.
Yeah,
So if you have 100 people and you predict on 80 of them and those 80 of them move forward, and then you predict on those 80, and then now you have 64 and you predict on that 80%, and now you have even less and even less and even less. Now you just predicted yourself out of business. And I think that's the real danger behind like a lot of like, and again, this is not a knock against eLab or the folks that hosted it. We've had conversations with those guys in full transparency, and Doug is a really great dude. But there's still inherent risk when if you're not also putting in new information. It's not even just about the bias. It's that you're cinching the string around the sack and really just narrowing your opportunities at that point.
Yeah, you went way over my head on that
mine
one.
too. He just lit me up there too.
Just let me cook.
This is why he's my partner. You go into the but yeah, that was an interesting competition. But what I came out of it was to have. It's a phenom, and to see what 2,600 people, a bunch of young, a lot of them were Michigan students, but there was a lot of non-Michigan students there, that I'm thinking these guys are all using an open source AI model, and they're all building apps. And what the heck is going to come out of that room in the next year? A freshman student who is just finishing his freshman year went up and presented his app and said, and I'm now dropping out and moving to San Francisco.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yep. He's like, I'm done. I've got an app. I'm going for it. I'm moving. I forget.
I don't remember.
Yeah. It's rating toilets in public places.
I get pitched apps all day long, so it's just in one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
But that was cool.
All right. Well, with that said, we're gonna wrap up. Neuroaigent.ai.
That's right.
Bob Skinner, Justin Coleman. Can't thank you enough for hanging out. This is a great conversation. Appreciate you guys being out here.
Thanks for having us.
So we're going to wrap things up for this episode of the IT and the D Show. On behalf of Bob and Randy, do us all a favor. Drink up your drinks. Get your phone numbers. You don't got to go home. You just got to get the hell out of here. See you next week. Drive careful. Beat it.